Hello, Professor. This is Peter Tempesta. I'm now constructing my Tableau assignment. My first graph will be a line chart of the S&P 500 index. There is the line chart of the S&P 500 index. Hello, Professor. I'm now conducting my second graph, which is a heat map of the top 25 holdings and weighting of the S&P 500 index. S&P top 2. That's a rose. 3. Heat map row number 4. Two dimensions, colors. Take the readings from measures into labels. And here's a heat map of the S&P 500 holdings that make up the index. Hello, Professor. It's Peter Tempesta. I'm now going to conduct my third graph, which is a pie chart of the 11 S&P 500 sector ETFs. Go to Marks, select pie chart, ETF name from dimensions to colors. Show it. Filter. Got the S&P 500. Choose me to labels. Take the symbol to labels. Then we'll take S&P 500 from measures to labels. And this is the percent of makeup in a pie chart. For some reason, I cannot get the decimals to move to the left, but the industrials should be 10.90%. Communication should be 10.87%. Real estate should be 2.90%, and so on. For my next graph, Professor, it's Peter Tempesta. I'm now going to construct a bubble graph for the top 5 holdings of the financial ETF. So, Bubble graph. Now I got to select the financial related companies. City Bank of America. Berkshire Hathaway. Citigroup. JP Morgan. Well, Professor, for some reason I'm having a difficult time selecting the financial holdings, but this is how the bubble chart is made. Obviously, I have the 5 financial related companies here and the percentage of their weightings relative to the S&P 500. Hello, Professor. It's Peter Tempest again for my next graph. I'm going to establish a text chart of all 11 sector ETFs, their highest and lowest rates of returns. Put this in measure values, measure columns, ETF informations. Click on here. Take out everything. Rate of return. So I unclicked all the measure names and left the rate of return. Go to ETF symbol, to rows, top left box. Take years, to columns. I need to enlarge the graph. It's too much. At this point, I enlarge the graph. Go to marks, select the square tab. Then I take the ETF name, put them into color, and then I select the highest and lowest rate to return. So from 2008, the lowest rate of return is the financials. The highest rate of return would be consumer staples at minus 15%. And I click the rate to the S&P 500, and you can see what the rate of high and the low is compared to the S&P 500 index. And I continue to do this throughout the entire chart. So it's Peter Tempest again. My next graph will be to compare the S&P 500 and the energy ETF chart as well. I'll take year from dimensions, move it to columns. Take rate of return, move it to rows. Find it. Rate of return to rows. Take ETF name, colors. Then I select the two. It's going to be energy and the S&P 500. And from here, I select the line graph. So the red is the S&P 500. I could highlight the rates of returns for each year between the two graphs. On my original paper, I had two separate graphs on top of each other, but for some reason it's coming up on top of each other, which is probably what I should have done initially. But I'm assuming, I would hope you would get the idea of what I'm trying to do here. At this point in time, Professor, I'm going to do my final graph. I have other ones to do, but I know you said you wanted to keep it within about 10 minutes. So the next one's going to be a bar chart with the 20 best performing holdings in the S&P 500 since 2009. Percentage. Do that there. Colors. Take it to labels. And then we'll move to size. I'll expand the graph. Then I expand the graph, and for some reason, the percentages aren't right. GGP should be an 8,000% rate of return. A Biomed should be a 7,600% rate of return. For some reason, I'm having a difficult time moving the percentage over, but I was able to do it in the assignment itself. So I have several other graphs that I put together as well, but obviously I'll go way over the allotted time. If you want me to redo the video, if you don't feel it's sufficient enough, please let me know. Thanks.